Game Up Hard Hydration. It's like your favorite seltzer and your favorite sports drink got together, had a baby, but it's so much better. Let them know why we love Game Up.
It's because it's got 4 great flavors: fruit punch, orange, lemon lime, and grape, and it's only 110 calories, and it's low carb too. So that's why we love Game Up. Thank you, Game Up, for sponsoring the show.
Worstt. We're talking Worstt of 2024 this week. Dave, how easy did you find it to put this list together? Because I had some trouble myself.
Yeah, it's not really my thing. I had to kind of get creative because I'm very forgiving, and I try not to put it on the talent a lot of times. But I did it instead of like worst wrestlers. I kind of went with like characters I don't like the most, stuff that's not really hitting with me, and stuff like that.
In any of these cases, like when we had to pick worst male, worst female, worst tag team, I kind of tended to do like worst booked or what I'm enjoying the least, because like we've never stepped in a ring. So for us to like qualify who is like the worst in the ring, that's not what we're saying. We are talking, just how they've been perceived. And we'll start off. I've got Adam Cole for male wrestler. I feel like at the beginning of the year, there was so much hype for that Devil storyline and just Adam Cole in general. And he came back and he really has kind of been a non-factor in AEW, in my eyes at least.
This would have been easy for me if we had a storyline, but I'll do the person too. But for storyline, I thought, man, MJF and Adam Cole just really fell off a cliff for me this year. It just really didn't hit. And I didn't think to put that on necessarily Cole because I found Cole interesting. But at the same time, I will say that this whole storyline, especially when it became about him and the Undisputed Era, it just fell off a cliff. But I went with other wrestlers who their character really just didn't connect with me. And I actually have a couple here. Big Bill, Chris Jericho, talented wrestlers, but their characters just don't do it for me at all. I'm just not into the learning tree. So that was it. At one point, I would have probably put Tony D'Angelo here, but that man made like a comeback of the year for me because I would not call him necessarily one of my favorites, but I found him interesting and more compelling when we got into that Oba Femi storyline earlier this year.
Definitely. I feel like that feud really kind of made him this year.
Yeah.
And then like all the stuff with Charlie Dempsey has just made him, that much more compelling. You have him with Nunzio. They just did enough where they really built him up. Somebody they didn't build up.
Yeah.
My female choice of the year, Camille. I feel like she should have been so much bigger coming in from NWA. She is such a powerhouse. She's playing, I believe, June Byers in that women's wrestling movie coming up. And she has just been, Mercedes kind of heavy, but even then they've made her look dumb, ineffective, and it haven't really been digging her running AEW so far.
I might be in the minority of this. I know she's not supposed to be a main event player. I know she's new. I know she's supposed to be entertaining. I don't have anything against her, but my least engaging female character right now is Harley Cameron. Just doesn't do it for me, and I find that pretty much every match I know she's going to lose anyway, so I find myself just fast forwarding a lot of her matches at times.
Getting to tag teams. Tag team wrestling overall has suffered this year.
Yeah.
If I had to go with the thing I was least into, I would have to say the Young Bucks.
That's so funny because if you remember, I actually picked them as my tag team of the year because I thought we just didn't have a lot of like really great tag team storylines. I thought they were the most consistent team for part of the year, but they're my worst tag team because I found them the least engaging, which should tell you how I felt about tag wrestling this year. I just wasn't into tag wrestling this year as much as I would have liked to have been. I do feel though there's hope. I am seeing almost in both companies. I feel like we're starting to try to push newer teams. Like you see DIY coming back in WWE, and you have Motor City Machine Guns there now. And then you look over on AEW, Private Party has the tag titles now, and you seems like Top Flight and Action Andretti and Leo Rush. So I'm not saying I would call this a win for tag team wrestling right now, but I am interested. It looks like we're trying to reboot tag team wrestling in both companies.
And it's funny because it's almost the Private Party winning those tag team championships and then being such ineffective champs after it, even though they've had this story built up that I feel it's kind of like where the Bucks have fallen. Maybe if the Bucks had had a bigger year to me, that Private Party win would have felt bigger and it just would have felt more like something. I don't know. It was hard for me to pick a team like this because I enjoy tag team wrestling, but I just didn't feel like the Bucks, they didn't do what they should have losing those titles to Private Party.
Yeah, I just found they were the least engaging for for me, and they represented a lot of tag team wrestling. I actually thought their private party feud was probably the best thing they did, but I just overall just wasn't feeling their run, and I didn't really enjoy their whole gimmick other than Okada.
How did you come about picking your match of the year? Because for me, it really was recency bias.
Worst match of the year, I kind of cheated, and I just basically went anything with Harley Cameron because I just find myself fast forwarding and just not really engaged with anything with her, you know?
Wow, I picked Chris Jericho and Matt Cardona from ROH Final Battle.
We'll talk about that later. Yeah.
I think I had built it up in my own mind. The ending just kind of fell flat for me.
So did
And
Bandito.
pay-per-view / PLE of the year. This is another tough one because we're at the end of the year. They kind of all blend together.
Yeah.
But for me, I chose All Out just because it happened on kind of still kind of close to All In, storylines or just things that happen there kind of, they're less memorable for me because that All In was so big.
Yeah, I'll bring you two. I like what you said there. That's a good one because it was really kind of tied together. But for me, remember we talked last year how much I love that Bad Blood watch along and how good that was? Extreme Rules. Although I did it getting up at 5:30 in the morning. That made that one of the more least enjoyable shows. I can't say that it was a bad show, but that was a bad experience. So I'll go with that one. Or Elimination Chamber, not Extreme Rules, the one in Australia.
Company of the year. To me, this is very easy, and it hurts me to say it because I previously really enjoyed them. NWA fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah, that's a good one. I was going to say they're not bad, but AEW just lost the most momentum this year because I feel like they've gotten so cold and you can see it with their ratings and attendance. So it's not just us, but like they're just not as engaging, but they still have stuff that I like. So I do like your pick of NWA. And I'll tell you another reason why, because they've gotten so bad for me that I didn't even think about them. And I used to really enjoy them. I feel your energy on that one. We'll go with that.
Yeah, apparently you can only watch them on X now, which is really weird because there was a while ago in the group text, we had one of our friends asking us when Tim Storm was doing this Baron Von Storm thing, and I had only seen it because of social media, but it's like they went from a place where they were on the CW app to when NXT got on CW, they were just gone. And I would love a comeback for them. I'd like to be able to watch them, someplace like YouTube, like a regular method. So that's been tough.
This is unrelated, but TNA just got a deal with Sportsnet in Canada, which is like a big channel for Canada. And I thought about I'm really happy. And I know they booked some bigger arenas this year. And TNA wrestling is doing what I had hoped NWA would have done initially, but it's what it is.
Feud of the year. I feel like we're going to agree on this one because you mentioned
I was already talking about it, but go ahead.
Adam Cole versus MJF. Yeah. Spoiler alert. I believe last year when I was talking predictions for 2024, I had high hopes for this feud. I can't wait to play that clip next week and look like a fucking fool, but it was funny how different a year makes, how last year there was such anticipation about what it was. We were ready for everything, and then it just kind of went nowhere, and that doesn't happen with all AEW things, but I think this was an AEW storyline that really had the potential to capture people, and they missed the boat on it, and it sucks.
I think Bruce Pritchard would say it was snake bit. When you look at all the different injuries, MJF having to leave to do a movie, it was so many stop and goes, and this feud just never got to take off. I won't say I didn't enjoy is almost too strong. I thought their promo exchange recently they did on a Collision at the Hammerstein Ballroom wasn't bad. MJF was his old self again, making a joke. I don't know if you got to see it, but he talked about, I hear you can't see your favorite dentist anymore, and they're taking jabs at each other and stuff like that. But even then, man, it was to me, it's it's a little too late. They got a match this Saturday at World's End, and I'm just not that into it.
If you haven't tried Game Up, then you are missing out. Imagine your favorite seltzer and your favorite sports drink had a baby, but it's way better than that. Each can is 110 calories, low carb, 4.9 ABV. It's a nice light drink that is not light on flavor. Game Up comes in fruit punch, orange, lemon, lime, and grape. Pick it up at drinkgameup.com or at your nearest liquor store.